call me sir. You call me only Raj. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
even now I
energy,
don't
that
ask them to call me
concept
sir.
of teaching, no, I've picked up from you. I love it. I really. I
Very,
think
very.
Ram sir, we are really lucky to have sir with us, and
अरे कुछ नहीं यार,
he's a
तो यू
fantastic
आर
teacher.
बेकार में, यू आर मेरे को झाड़ पे चढ़ा रही है तू. बाद में ये
Please,
लोग दे ऑल एक्सपेक्ट समथिंग एंड देन विल बी डिसअपॉइंटेड.
please, oh come on. Right. Great. So you're at clinic now. You're at home, sir.
No, we am at home. I was supposed to go to clinic, but I thought I'll do this from the clinic. But then today's ortho day, so a lot of patients, so I didn't want any disturbance. So I thought I'll stay back, finish, and then go.
Sir, parents are in Mumbai, sir. They're okay.
No, mom is with me. My dad passed away. My dad passed away about 10 years, 11 years now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So, yeah. No, then the mom is here. Mom is with me.
If no, you're keeping her safe, right? Because both
Yeah,
of
yeah.
you are working, no. So COVID is such a terror.
Correct.
Okay.
True.
My parents are in Mumbai only, sir. Horribly in Mumbai right now.
Bombay has become bad. I mean, but recovery rate is also quite high now. I think active cases are only around 20,000. Though the total cases are more than a lakh and a half, I think active cases are only 20. I think Pune is worse than Bombay.
Pune as well, okay. So actually, the COVID hospital, to a COVID hospital, Santosh has proper COVID duties. AIMS is the nodal center of Chhattisgarh. So they, for like 28 days, they're gone.
Quarantine after that.
Yeah, they have duty and then quarantine. Yeah.
COVID
Now I
warriors.
think all COVID everywhere. Thankfully, not yet with us.
Yeah.
We don't know.
So we may already have been exposed and become immune also. We
We
never
don't
know.
know. Yeah, we don't know. I've got tested twice.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, because we were primary contacts of our friends who turned out to be positive. They were at our place having coffee together. So then we got tested and we were quarantined for 15 days with children. Even children were exposed. Yeah. We are 3 now, sir, daughters.
Stressful times.
It's okay. This will also pass. This will also
Yeah. This too shall pass.
This too shall. Great. So I think I won't take more of your time. Ram sir.
Yeah.
Oh my God, all of this is recorded. Please share it with me. My God. Are you recording, sir?
Yeah, I don't know. No, I'm not recording anything.
No, I don't know. Some recording was, something showed.
Yeah. Okay.
Where's ma'am? Is ma'am around? Can we see her?
No, she's in the clinic.
Okay.
She said, anyway, you only talk. I'll do the work. So she went to clinic.
My God. Okay, I'm really looking to see her. I keep talking to Naveen sir actually about both of you. Every time I'm looking at the child. Sir must be here too.
Yeah, Naveen is also here. Yeah.
Hi, Shruti.
Hi sir, where are you sir? I can't see your face.
Face okay.
Sir, show us your face also. Hi sir, how are you?
Hi. I'm fine.
It's been a while that you came to Chhattisgarh.
Yes, it will be some more time, hopefully. When we meet, all this should have passed. As Raj said, this shall also pass.
COVID passes soon.
This too shall pass.
This too
This shall pass. Okay, cool.
So thanks, sir, Naveen sir, for organizing this. Thank you, Ram sir. I got to have a nice, amazing chat with
Yes, anytime.
Raj sir. He's been my inspiration, like right through. Like a whole lot of us. We used to follow.
touch pantama.
No, he's been inspiration even now to a lot of people. Even now he's like that.
இதெல்லாம் ஓவர் ஆச்சுல உனக்கே ஓவரா தோணல இது ஸ்ருதி திஸ் இஸ்
அதெல்லாம் ஒண்ணுமே இல்லப்பா.
ஒண்ணும் இல்ல சார், சரிதான் இது. சரிதான்.
சரி.
Okay.
Sir, I can speak full Kannada now. Do you know that? That's
What?
I can speak fluent Kannada now. My husband is
Really?
Kannada. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So next time ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ, ನಾನು ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ.
Sir, we'll start, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
I am ready anytime.
Okay, sir.
11:01. Yeah.
Just give me a minute, sir. Just give me a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ready? Yes, sir.
Sir, this is Dr. Deepak Thakur, my HOD.
Hello, sir.
Hello, hi. Hello, sir. Hi. How are you?
How are you, sir?
All good. All good. All surviving lockdown.
Okay, okay. Everywhere it is same, sir.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Sir, कहाँ?
Somehow we have to come out of it. That's all. Just survive. This year is all about survival. पैसे बनाने का अगले साल सोचेंगे. इस साल जिंदा रहे काफी है.
हाँ, right, sir.
I know.
आज अभी सर का presentation है. लोगों को
नहीं, आपको
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Ready? Hello? Hello? Naveen, sir? Naveen, sir?
हाँ बोलो राम.
Sir, am I audible?
Yeah. Clear.
Okay, sir. With your permission, I'd like to start, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Please.
Yes, a very warm welcome and good morning. I, Dr. Ram Tiwari, from the Department of Public Health Dentistry, Roongta College of Dental Sciences and Research, would like to welcome all of you once again for the national webinar on dental practice management. I'd like to welcome our respected Dean, Dr. Sudhir Pawar, sir, our Vice Dean, Dr. Jaideep Soor, sir, Vice Dean, Hospital and Administration, Dr. Deepak sir, our Professor, HOD, Dr. Naveen sir, and a very special and warm welcome to our guest speaker for today on the national webinar, Dental Practice Management, Professor Dr. Krishna Raj Ganesh Narayan sir. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
I also like to welcome all the respected faculty members, my dear students and my dear colleagues. The dental practice management, this topic holds a very important place because when one student wants to open up a clinic, this is the first thing that one has to know. But yet it is very mildly addressed in our curriculum. So, agglomerating all the dental skills on one hand and management of manpower and finances, and on the other hand, one can run a successful practice over the years. Now, I'd like to request our Dean, Dr. Sudhir Pawar sir, to kindly address the gathering. Welcome, sir.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Hello, Dr. Krishna Raj.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yeah, so on this particular day when we are organizing this webinar by Dr. Krishna Raj Ganesh on dental practice management, on behalf of Roongta College of Dental Sciences and Design, welcome everyone who is participating in this webinar. This public health dentistry post graduation is available only in Roongta College of Dental Sciences in the whole state. This is something which we are always feel proud of. And the department managed by Dr. Naveen, who is study. And Dr. Ram Tiwari, the product of this college itself, have been doing excellently well. And I really congratulate them as in this webinar during this particular difficult times, and to keep this of organizing the webinars going on. But we arrange every year, and we call this because to our college. Every year we do that. All the departments do it. But this year we have to replace it by having this webinars. Anyway, so I welcome all the students, and the topic is good. So this is something that every graduate or postgraduate will venture into another day. It always depends on his resources as to how he wants to set up private practice, because it will depend on so many things. There will be practice. And even when you start practice, whatever particular conditions you do, there will be so many other required skills which will help you to flourish, or may not be in your favor. Various skills to practice. I always tell that it's a one-man industry. It's like industry. So you should be able to manage the faculty, all the requirements that you well in your practice, your industry life. So we are very lucky that we have an expert who is going to leverage this on requirements and how to get it set up so that it's going to be successful in your life. That too, particularly in these times, a demand or a requirement setting up a practice for also on the side, how to manage a patient. I don't know whether there will be only by time upon so these things will be there. The condition. So I welcome everyone. I'm looking forward to the presentation by Dr. Krishna Raj. Also must everyone, so, because that's what we will be doing one of the other days set up for practice manage it well. So thank you everyone for participating. Over to you, Dr. Ram.
Thank you very much, Respected Dean Sir, for your words. And without a delay, now I'd like to request our Professor and HOD of the department, Dr. Naveen Sir, to kindly welcome and introduce our guest speaker to all the delegates attending the webinar. Welcome, Dr. Naveen Sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ram. A very good morning and a warm welcome to all my senior faculty members, my dear colleagues, dear students, my dear friend Dr. Krishna Raj, and all the delegates. It's actually a proud moment for me to introduce my very good friend Dr. Krishna Raj, with whom I started my journey as a dental student, and I've known him for past 25 years. Dr. Krishna Raj finished his BDS from the College of Okaligara Sangha Dental College, Bangalore in the year 1999. Then he went on to pursue his post-graduation in the Department of Periodontology from STM College of Dental Sciences, Dharwad, and passed out in the year 2004. Then he pursued and obtained a full scholarship PhD in oral biology from University of Medicine and Dentistry, New Jersey, United States of America. He is also certified in Health Insurance, Portability and Accountability Act regulations and infection control approved by New York State Department, United States of America. Dr. Krishna Raj started his teaching career in D.Y. Patil, Mumbai Dental College as a senior lecturer, and then went on to be a reader in the Department of Periodontology in SDM College of Dental Sciences, Dharwad. Presently, he is working as a professor in the Department of Periodontology, Coorg Institute of Dental Sciences, Virajpet. He has also served as a director and clinical head for Vasan Dental Care from the year 2012 to 2016. And he is the founder, head of clinical operations for Delta Dental Care chain of dental clinics in Bangalore. Dr. Krishna Raj has received a lot of awards in his career, and to name a few are Best New Practice in the country in the year 2017 for his clinic Delta Dental Care, Best Corporate Chain of Dental Clinics for Vasan Dental Care in the year 2014. He has a patency on use of salivary protein as antimicrobial agent and has been awarded the Lakhanwala Prize to be the best dissertation in the Department of Odontology in the whole of the country. Dr. Krishna Raj has done more than 500 presentations on various topics and conducted numerous workshops related to periodontology, but dental practice management has always been close to his heart. Personally, I have known Krishna Raj for 25 years and he's always been a wonderful orator and a good communicator. And all of you will come to know how good an orator he is when he starts doing his presentation. This dental practice management, anything to do with dental practice, Krishna Raj has always been my go-to guy when it comes to any small issues that I've been facing in the past 15 years of my career as a practitioner. And he has always proved me right by approaching him and giving me the apt kind of advices that I'm supposed to inculcate in my private practice. Today's presentation will also help a lot of people tomorrow in their future endeavors as a practitioner, and these notes, whatever you're going to make using his presentations, will always remain as a Bible for you for a wonderful private practice. I hereby welcome Dr. Krishna Raj for this national webinar. Welcome, Dr. Raj.
Hi. Okay.
Over to you, Ram.
Can I? Oh, okay. Naveen, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation, this introduction. Usually, whenever I go on talks, I'm used to seeing people sitting in front of me. Now I have to talk in front of a screen, but that's the situation that we are in now. But thanks for this wonderful introduction. And I can see a lot of some faces in front of me in small cubes. So at least by that way, I know I'm talking to some people. Otherwise, I sound like a fool standing in front of a computer and talking. But that's the situation we are in today. And anyway, thanks a lot for inviting me. And it's been a great pleasure to be. We and Naveen have been talking to do this program for the last year or year and a half. And Naveen has been really instrumental in arranging this whole setup. I must thank the entire college, Pawar sir, the management of Rumta College in Chhattisgarh and the entire department. And for all you students, why your college is taking this kind of initiative is very simple. See, today in colleges you learn about perio department, you learn scaling, you learn cavity cutting, you learn extraction, you learn prosthetic work and all this other stuff. But once you graduate, you always look behind your shoulder and see that is there somebody I can show my work to? Can I get my signature from somebody? There's nobody once you start your own practice. And that's when you need to develop the confidence that there is nobody to look behind. There is nobody standing over your shoulder and watching you how you're practicing in your private clinic. In a college kind of setup, patients just come. Here you have to get the patients inside. In a private practice, it is important that you convince the patients and then you have to make them pay and towards the end do a good job of it. So there's a lot of difference between dentistry that is being practiced in colleges versus the dentistry that's being practiced once you open your own setup. So this college has taken this initiative to make sure that there is this sort of a bridge that you students, right from interns to postgraduate students and even young faculty who are planning to start their own practice at some point, to get some insight on what are the things that are essential, important, and necessary to make sure that this transition from a college dentistry to a private practice dentistry is made. Naveen has also given me a unique challenge that he said the past 20 years we have been practicing, and then now I have to accumulate this, condense this 20 years of knowledge or whatever experience that I've gained into 1 hour of talk. So it's going to be very difficult. I'm going to try and highlight some of the key salient features of the stuff. And before we move on, I think I should get on to the presentation mode. I think I should say present now. And I hope all of you can see my screen.
I'd like
Yeah.
just a second, sir. Please excuse me for a second, sir.
Yes.
I'd like to request all the participants to kindly switch off their microphones and cameras so that we get seamless presentation from Dr. Krishna Ganesh Naran, sir. Kindly switch off your mics and the video cameras for a seamless presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. Please, as he said, you can switch off your mics. जितना गाली देना है वो presentation के बाद दे देना, कोई problem नहीं है. I'm here to listen, and I'll always take up some questions in the end. Usually, I'd like to keep this as an interactive session, as like more like a discussion. But since I'm speaking to a screen, it's going to be make it difficult. So I'm going to just run through a few of these important things that I've learned in private practice over the few years. And I also like to end up with some changes that we made and we need to do during these COVID times. See, COVID, it's not that tomorrow morning you get up or when the lockdown is over or anything is over that corona is going to disappear. We have to learn to live with it. And if we worry too much about it, I think we'll just keep worrying. I've seen practitioners, it's been 3 months, 4 months, and still many of them have not opened their practices. It'll eventually, you lose your confidence to practice. We have always been exposed to viruses before. We have always been exposed to pathogens. We have to make sure that the protocols that are there in place we follow. And at some point, we have to start work. And from our side, whatever best possible practices are there, we need to follow that and make sure that we are responsible in the way that we treat our patients. Despite that, if it happens, it happens. You can't help it. But just for that fear, if you just stay at home and say, I'm not going to practice dentistry, I'm going to shut down dentistry, it's not good. And as dentists, we don't know anything else. Even after a couple of years, we may think of opening the practice only, unless you have to relearn some other skills. So anyway, so use this opportunity to kind of, because it's everybody, the level, it's created a level playing field. Earlier, what happened? People who are high practitioners, big practitioners, having great practice past 10, 20 years, they are also today zero. Even the yesterday's newcomer also today is zero. So as I would say, these young practitioners use it as a boon and use it as an opportunity now that everybody is being given a level playing field. And the senior practitioners today have to think that they have to again start from zero. And the newcomers, anyway, they are starting from zero. So with this in mind, just want to run through some of the important things. Firstly, I want you all to understand that dentistry, I mean, I don't know, many people feel that we are not a business. Dentistry is not a business. We are a noble profession. We are that, we are this. I, for one, believe that we are in business because we are taking money from the patients to provide treatment. And as long as you're taking money in exchange for services that is provided, it's an organization where, or economic system where goods or services are exchanged for money. So that means that we are in business. And as long as we are in business, we have to do it the right way. We do it ethically, and we make sure that the patient who comes in with a lot of faith and trust in us, that either gaya to I'll become okay. That faith and that trust, we are upkeeping that. And then ultimately, any business, what do we want? We want for our dental clinic to succeed. When you say a success, we want a lot of patients to come to our clinic, and we want these patients to undergo the treatment from us. And we want the patients to get satisfied with the treatments that they've undergone. Then they go out and then they refer more patients, right? So that's a long-term goal of any patient. Now, for this, there are certain indicators and certain requirements. So we'll just go through some of these things. What are the goals? What do you mean by profitable practice? So profitable practice. Now today we're going to talk a little bit more about the revenue aspect of this, because पैसा बनाना important है. सबको पैसा बनाना है ना. कमाई तो करना है, and we've spent a lot of money. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to adjust, how to manage the revenue, how to make sure that the revenue. We have not been taught finance in our school days or college days or even during dentistry. So this is something that we have to learn after we get into practice. This is something that I have learned over years of practice. So that's how I feel that what are the things that are important is, one, obviously, when I say high top line, the first thing is a high top line. What do you mean by some of these terminologies? High top line means obviously आप clinic खोले and you're making money, right? Every month you're doing some 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees or 5 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees business. So that number has to be consistent. So you have to push that number every month a little higher and higher and higher. So that's called a top line. So what is the highest revenue that you are generating from a clinic is called as a high top line. So every month you have to ensure that the top line is being pushed up, right? So that is a factor that you need to always keep in your mind, because this is the one that's a revenue driver. And today you look at some of the treatments that are your revenue drivers, are your dental implants and your orthodontics and full mouth rehabilitations, Invisaligns. These are all cases that will really drive up your top line. And always I say that high top line is, something that's always important, but 1 month it may come, 1 month it may not come. So there is some amount of volatility also. How to make sure that you get a high top line consistently is one of the goals of a private practice. The second thing is a low bottom line. What do you mean by low bottom line? A bottom line means the minimum amount of expenses that you need. So what are your minimum expenses? You have rentals, you have salaries, and you have electricity bills, you have lab bills, you have materials. And these are your monthly expenditures that are going to be common. So how to keep that at a low, how to make sure that you have a low bottom line. So this is another, if you succeed in that, that's one of the goals of a private practice, a profitable practice. Third thing is you have a quality walk-in. What do you mean by quality walk-in? We've had patients, I don't know how many of you are already into practice, but we've always had patients who, when I'm working, somebody knocks in, opens the door, root canal ka kitna lete hai? We've all had patients who ask that, and we've be the best possible practitioner or be just a newcomer. Everybody has got these kind of patients. So when I meant quality walk-in is a patient who is really genuinely interested in treatment and not just doing a window shopping. So how to get more of these quality walk-ins? And finally, you have a low attrition. This is the most important thing, because you are only as good as your team is. And your team is like, MS Dhoni retired a few days ago. And there's a beautiful article written about Dhoni by Narayan Murthy. And one of the things that he mentioned is he was a leader. We all know that he's a leader. And he made sure he got the best out of everybody in his team. So you ask Sachin Tendulkar to become a fast bowler, that's not going to happen, right? So identify the strengths of your team and give them. So I always feel that when you're a leader in an organization, you have to ensure that the employees or the consultants or the people that are working with you in your organization are all satisfied. And professional satisfaction today comes from three main important things. The first important thing is the person whom you hire, they should feel that they are paid. They are paid as much as they think they deserve to get paid. So that's the first thing. So if you're working in a thing, you should get paid as much as you think you should get paid. Second thing is you must enjoy the work that you're doing. Even if you get paid any amount of money, but if you don't enjoy the work that you're doing, after a certain point you start to get frustrated. And third, most important thing is the environment in which you work should be conducive to your mind. So if you're living in a very stressed environment and where somebody is always asking you, who didn't push this target, that is not proper, politics is there. So these three things as an employer. So if you have your own practice tomorrow, you may be employing a dentist, you may be employing an assistant, a housekeeping person, a simple receptionist, and all these people. Make sure that these people stay with you for a long time. That's what you mean by low attrition, that the people who work for you, they do not leave you and go. Because today I'll tell you, I'm paying my front office, say 15,000 rupees salary. You think that 15,000 rupees salary is too much, and that if my front office today decides to leave me and join some other call center or something else, that she can't make the kind of money that she's making, she can. But today, even if I tell her get out, she won't go. If I tell my assistant to leave, they don't leave. The reason is they want to work, and it's not just about the money. So make sure that you create a proper environment for the people that you work. And these three things as an employer is your responsibility to make sure that you pay them as much as you think they should get paid. Make sure that you give them the work that they really enjoy to do. Find out what they're interested in, what they're good at. Identify their strengths, and then finally you obviously create a good environment for everybody to work in. Okay. Now to achieve this, what are the components? So obviously, when you want to have a successful dental patients practice, you need to have volume. What I mean by volume is, no matter how successful you are or how big a name you are, or whatever, you do need patients every month. You need new patients, right? you may be treating an Amitabh Bachchan or you may be treating anybody, but that Amitabh Bachchan is going to come and get his treatment done and go. But the next patient is to come in, right? So every clinic obviously needs new patients to keep coming in. So a way of steady volume of patients is always, so for a successful practice, you need to have steady volume of patients that need to keep coming to your practice. It could be from a referral. So there are some clinics where if they get 100 new patients,
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Sir, I think it is a net problem from Krishnaraj sir's side. Kindly inform him. He is not audible. His screen is also paused.
Okay.
Yeah. We are not able to hear you, sir. If I am audible to Dr. Krishnaraj Ganesharan sir, I think there is a. I think there is a
Ram,
problem.
we can hear you.
I think there is a problem from sir's side, sir. Kindly inform
Correct.
him, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just call him and inform.
Sir, I think sir's connection has been lost. He is not connected in now. Kindly ask him to reconnect, sir.
Yeah, I'll do that, Ram.
Dear all participants, in the meanwhile, I'd like to inform you all that Google Meet, we have now, we are full in Google Meet. The rest of you ask your friends to kindly join in Facebook. And if you, by the way, if you exit due to anything, net problems, you can view us directly on Facebook Live. We are live on Facebook on the given link. And you can ask your friends and colleagues to join us on the Facebook page because we are in full capacity on Google Meet. Thank you. And in the meanwhile, I think there is a problem on Sir's internet side. He will be joining in a very short while. Kindly stay with us. Yeah, sir is here, I think. Krishnaraj sir, am I audible, sir? Yeah, you are visible, sir. Your mic is on mute, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
is this okay?
Yes, sir. Very good. Nice, sir.
My screen is visible?
Yeah, yes, screen is visible, sir, but it is not in presentation mode, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Is this now?
Yeah. Correct, sir. Correct, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for informing me. Otherwise, I would have kept talking. Anyway, so as I was saying, a new to old ratio, you need to have at least a 1:3 or a 1:4 ratio of new and old for you to know that you have a good volume. So if you don't have that kind of volume of patients, then you have to do marketing to increase the volume of patients. So that's the first thing that there's a component. The second thing is obviously the revenue. And I look at revenue because revenue is a barometer to find out if anything is going wrong in the clinic or everything is fine. And I have seen majority of the private practices suffer mainly from this point because, say, for example, an endodontist opens a practice and all that he's concerned about is doing root canals. So if you look at the revenue generated from endodontist practice, 70% of you will come from RCTs. And you have a periodontist, they will only look at doing perio treatments. An orthodontist will only look at doing bondings. So private practice, when you are a private in a private practice, you have to forget the fact that you are just a specialist. And you are a private practice, you have to have think of it as a business. So when you think of a business, there are some things that are important is even distribution around the department. So as a ballpark figure, something that I'm going to give you is your three main revenue generating departments in dentistry are prosto, endo, and ortho, right? Keep this in mind. So very sorry to all the periodontists, pedodontists and oral surgeons out there, you do not generate enough revenue. Okay, unless of course you look at implants and all that. But purely from your point of view, the three main bread and butter in dentistry is prosto, endo, and ortho. Now, when you look at the revenues that are being generated, and if you're earning 100 rupees a month, prosto, endo, and ortho together should contribute only about 60 rupees. I have seen clinics where prosto contributes 60, 70 rupees, just prosto. Endo just contributes 70, 75 rupees. Those are not very good because there'll be huge volatility. 1 month you'll get very high numbers, one month will be very low numbers. So when you're running a practice, you have to make sure that there's an even distribution around the departments. As a ballpark figure, prosto contributes about 25-30% of your revenue. Endo contributes about another 15%. Ortho contributes to about 15%. Pedo contributes to about 5%. Oral surgery contributes to about 10%, 5 to 10%. Perio contributes another 5 to 10%. General dentistry contributes to about 20%, and about 10 to 15% is contributed by implants. So this is your ballpark estimate. There could be about 10 to 15% variation between here and there, and that is okay. But more importantly, you must focus. So every month when you get your money, total revenue, you have to bifurcate how much money is coming from each department and accordingly do that. So that's a way of understanding which departments are working well, which departments are not working well. So you need to put more focus on that and then drive your marketings and stuff all around the departments that you need to improve. Okay, and the third component that is your quality. So always I believe in there is a maker checker. So there has to be a maker, there has to be a checker. So if I are two people, so for example, me and my wife, if we run out of things to fight, which never usually happens, but then we always have a concept of maker and checker. So one of us focuses on the business. Okay, so it could be, I'm not saying always has to be your spouse, but it can be any other dentist or any other part of your team. So one person takes the responsibility of driving the business. कि कैसे भी करके ये महीना हमको 5 लाख करना ही है, या 10 लाख करना ही है, या 3 लाख करना ही है, जो भी है, whatever your target is in your mind. Okay, so one guy is completely focused on the numbers. And then you have another person who is a checker. So you have a maker and you have a checker. The checker is a guy who will ensure that no, I don't care about the revenue, but I want to ensure that the quality of treatment that is being rendered to the patients is on par with what we have envisioned for our practice, right? So every clinic will have a particular vision in their mind, right? We will provide the best quality services at the most safest environment at the reasonable cost or whatever your vision is. So in order to drive the quality, you need to have certain standards that you need to set. So what happens is you develop SOPs. Now the term SOP has become very common because of the COVID, but we've been doing it for a long time. Develop standard operating procedures for everything. So when a patient walks in, write a book, yeah, even write in a pen or paper, whatever it is. Any patient who comes to my clinic, this is the protocol for checking the patients, and I have the protocols right from welcoming the patients to doing the initial examination to even doing a filling. Rubber dam has to be placed, this has to be done, that has to be done. Set up your protocols in writing. Okay, so these are called as standard operating procedures. And then when you have either multiple locations or multiple doctors in your one location, everybody is expected to follow the same standard operating procedure that you have developed, and there has to be a sensitization. Get all the people together. Your chairside assistants, develop a separate SOP for them. Front office for billing, for feedback, for receptionists, all that. You create a separate SOP for them. Patient welcoming, a separate SOP. Treatment separate. So for develop standard operating procedures for everything. Then is perform clinical audits. So every month what you do is you have to do a follow-up calls to your patients. Okay, last 6 months we have done say 200 root canals. I'm going to call up all the 200 root canal patients and find out how many of those root canals are okay? How many of them have developed pain or a post-operative infection? Or you could do it for the last year. Last year I did 400 root canals. Let me call up all the 400 patients and find out how are those patients feeling. And majority of today, what happens from a business point of view also, customers, they are somebody called as complainers, and there's someone called walkers. So complainers are people who are very small percentage of the population, they will complain. And these are good because they're at least telling it to your face. Then there are walkers who will just not say anything and just walk away and they'll not come back to your clinic. And why? Because it's a small thing. You would have advised a full mouth rehabilitation worth 3 lakh rupees for that patient, but just while doing the scaling, you would have pricked the gingiva a little bit for the patient got annoyed. And the patient decided to go to another dentist. Had you known that, next time you'll take extra care in just doing that scaling, right? 600 रुपया से 1000 रुपये के चक्कर में 3 लाख रुपए का नुकसान हो गया ना. So that's why when you do a clinical audit I'm talking from a revenue point as well as a quality point. So, for example, if there's a perforated instrument in the root canal, or if you've done the root canal and some root piece is left behind because it is close to the nerve or inaccessible or whatever, has those patients developed infections beyond? So do those kind of audits. Most of the clinics, they don't follow. Once the treatment is completed, they're done, they're gone. Till the time the patient gets a problem, they don't come back because we don't bother to check our own cases. And we need to develop a system where we perform clinical audits for our own patients. That will go a long way in ensuring that the patients, what happens is till the time the money is received, we keep on calling them. Sir, आपका appointment है, doctor ने बोला है root canal करने के लिए, कल appointment fix करूँ क्या? You keep calling them 100 times, and finally after the root canal time, एक phone call नहीं आया है कि सर कैसे feel कर रहे हो, क्या कर रहे हो, और दर्द गया कि नहीं, आप यूज कर पा रहे हैं क्या, कैप बिठाया, आर यू एबल टू चू इट, राइट साइड लेफ्ट साइड बराबर बैठा है क्या, where is the post operative follow up calls? This will help you ensuring that the patient, once you do that, they'll think that this doctor has taken that extra step to ensure that that I'm comfortable even after the treatment. So it's not only about the money, right? So when the doctor, imagine when the patient comes to you and they go back, that patient, when he's sitting on the dinner table, when he's eating, you want to think here, think that, do this, do that. You are going to become the subject of that patient's conversation on that dinner table with his own family, with his own friends. He's going to talk about you 100%. Now you decide, how do you want the patient to talk about you? अरे बहुत पैसा लिया, बहुत दर्द हुआ, नहीं डॉक्टर बहुत अच्छा है, फोन कॉल किया, मेरे को पूछा कैसा है. What sort of impression have you created in the minds of the patient? Have you checked? So performing these kind of clinical audits will give you innumerable amount of feedback on how to improve your own practice. Because after a certain point, we think that we are always doing the right thing. And then suddenly one day we'll sit and see, patients nahi aa rahe yaar, kyun nahi aa rahe? And then when you walk back, do these audits and see 100 different mistakes. Simple things like, I'll tell you from my experience. One of the patients, I'll say that for me, a patient who says that, doctor, you are very good, is of no use. For me, the patient who complains is useful because I can make some changes. So I keep asking them, how can I improve? I'll say that one simple suggestion. Doctor Sahab, your steps to your clinic are a little steep. I said, yes. Then we got that corrected. Then he said that, doctor, that it is little slippery. You can put one more rail on the side. I said, yes, we'll do that. One old guy came and told, sir, in your restroom, while getting up for old people who are having hip problem, knee problem, if you put a sidebar, it's easier for us to put the weight. I said, yes, it's a right suggestion. So these kind of small feedbacks that you get when you do a follow-up calls, when you do these clinical audits is absolutely. So otherwise, you have to end up spending 1 lakh rupees or 50,000 rupees to one guy called Krishna Raj who will come and tell you the same things, right? So these performing clinical audits is important. Third is develop your own safety and infection. Now I'm very, very happy in a way that this COVID has made us realize the importance of safety infection control. And now we're overdoing it in some cases, but safety and infection control measures have to be followed by everyone, and develop SOPs for that. How do you sterilize the equipments? How do you disinfect the surfaces? Environmental disinfection, chairside disinfection, instrument sterilization, autoclaving, hand hygiene, personal protective equipment, disposal of biomedical waste, radiation safety. All these develop small sharp injuries, protection program, immunizations. So these are all several programs that come under your safety and infection control, that you develop a quality manual, you develop a safety and infection control manual. If anybody needs a manual on how to do it or what to do it, I am ready to share it free. I have it with me. You can make it the way I've made it, or if you want to make your changes, you can make it. But develop sort of infection control practices. Ensure that every member of your team is following it. Okay, so once you do this, these are some of the components of a successful practice. Now we'll move on to what are the components that are involved in making sure you follow these 3 steps in your clinic. So location. So for those people who are planning to start a clinic, you have to look about location and accessibility. You have to look about do a market study. You have to know how a clinic design and infrastructure should be. What are the HR people that you need? Whether you need a front office, how many assistants do you need? Do you need a housekeeping? Do you need a security? What are the people that you need? Business operations. How do you price yourself? How do you make sure that your business is doing well? Advertising, how do you do marketing and stuff. And something about business intelligence is about how you evaluate your own business on whether your business is doing well or not. So suppose if there are 2 clinics, one is doing 50 root canals and one clinic is doing 100 root canals. So which of the 2 clinics are good? This is a question I ask when I have a live audience. I don't have people in front of me to answer that. But usually what people say is a clinic that is doing 100 root canals is better than the clinic that's doing 50 root canals. But what we also need to understand is if the clinic that is doing 50 root canals, there are 55 patients who have been advised root canal, of which 50 have undergone root canals. And in the other clinic, you have 200 patients who have been advised root canal and only 100 have undergone. So now your perspective changes, right? So in terms of business intelligence, what is the potential of the clinic that they can do versus what you're doing? And there's no point comparing yourself to the adjacent clinic. Compare with your own self. What has been your numbers before? What has been your number? That itself is a huge challenge to overcome. You don't have time to think about the others. How much he's charging, how much he's pricing himself, how much business he is doing, how many patients he is getting. It's all immaterial, irrelevant. Anyway, we'll come to that. We'll come to that when we discuss a little bit about location and access. How do you determine which is a good location to start your practice? So some of the things that I always keep in mind is I give you a choice between, again, this is a question for a live audience. If you have a choice to open a practice in an area where there are no dentists, and suppose if there is a area where there are a lot of dentists, which of these will you usually choose? So obviously many of them say that no, we'll choose the area where there are no dentists. I, on the other hand, feel that it's always better if you have a lot of dentists in the area. So most of the clinics that I have, some of my clinics are bang in between. So one of my clinics got a dentist in front, one corporate chain in the right, one corporate chain in the left, one corporate. And so if I open a practice, I should not be scared. They should be scared. Let them match the customer service that I'm providing. For me now, it's very simple. I'm back. So there is scope, there is business for everybody. That's why so many clinics are open. Now all I have to do is maintain my standards, and at some point all these people will come to me. It's very simple as that, and not by reducing the cost. Most people think that attracting patients is by reducing cost. That can be nothing further than the truth in that. Your price is never going to determine whether you're a good dentist or not. Especially now, COVID, and people aren't going to bother now about whether you're cheap. People are going to bother whether you're safe, especially now with the COVID stuff. Of course, even despite that, there will be patients who will bargain and argue and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, your clinic, where it's located, the kind of ambience that you create, the kind of customer service that you provide, is going to determine whether your clinic is going to be successful or not. When you find a location, when you look at what is the dentist and population ratio. One of the main things is how many dentists are there practicing in that particular area, and what is the population of that area. My opinion is, if you have in a lifetime, if you have 3,000 patients that you have treated in a lifetime, that's more than enough. This 3,000 patients only will keep coming back to you. They will start referring few people here, they'll start referring, and you're set for life. So look at your area where you open your practice. Now, for example, in this area where I am, this place is called RT Nagar. How do I know what's the population? If I go check the government website, if I go check the census and all that, they don't give me the right information, and I can never trust that information. What I do is I go up 5 o'clock in the morning where newspapers are being sold. So I go to that newspaper vendor, I said, kitna paper dalta hai? Then there are about 10 vendors there. So he said, sir, mera 2,000 hai, uska 3,000 hai, uska 3,000 hai, uska 6,000 hai. And I find out there are about 30,000 newspapers that are delivered in this area. So let's assume that 80% of the people are buying newspapers. So there are about 40,000 houses. So among these 40,000, given an average of 2 or 3 people in a house, so I calculate there are about 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh people living. Then I calculate how many is a dentist practicing here. About 40 dentists practicing in this area. So about 3,000 people per dentist. So I'm happy. So I said, okay, this place is good enough for me to start. So that's how you determine what's the dentist to population. Then I find out who's the top dentist in the area. So I find out how these practitioners are doing. What is the numbers that they're doing? What is the thing? Just to get an idea of what kind of services can you provide. Because you want to open a center or a multi-implant center in Jumri Talaya, where patients are not even bothered about getting a scaling done or an RPD done. It's not going to work. So kind of practice that you want to do vis-a-vis the kind of population there is important to understand. And that's why you need to know what the top dentists in the area are practicing. Then your population density. So you need to have a lot of people staying around this so that you get. And then you obviously a little bit idea of pricing patterns. I always prefer that dental clinics be located in a commercial place, not a residential place. And there should be a lot of people walking. It should be a main road where a lot of people walking, and there's a visibility of at least 50 feet on either side. People should be able to see your practice. Signage is extremely important. Even if you're paying 10-20% extra rent, better to take it on the ground floor. I understand the population and timings. What time the people come. So my first practice, I was working as a staff in DY Patil. So I used to work from 8 to 3 in the college. After the college, I used to go consultation in 2 clinics and then come back at 6 o'clock to my practice. And 6 to 9, I used to practice only in the evenings. And then I realized that it is a commercial building. My ground floor was a bank. First floor was restaurants. Second floor was chartered accountant offices and all these classes, some 10 standard, 12 standard. About 2,000-3,000 people in the building every day going up and down. And all these closed by 5 o'clock in the evening. And I used to open the clinic at 6 when nobody was there. I used to be very happy because I used to get parking. But what I never realized was I never got patients. So your timings are very important. So I don't know how many of you practice on a Sunday. I think it's important that whether depending upon the needs of the populace. So, if you're working in an IT belt, IT sector where people won't have time on weekdays and have only on Saturdays and Sundays. So I think it may be important to open your practice on a Sunday, but again, it's a personal choice. I feel those things make a difference as far as locations, timings, accessibility and stuff is concerned. Now, we spoke about number of people living in the area and so I want to introduce a terminology called ARPP. There is an extremely important term that I wish every dentist knows is ARPP actually stands for average revenue per patient. In terms of money, how much is each patient worth? There'll be some patients who come just speak to you, they won't undergo any treatment and go back. And there'll be some patients who will be a full mouth case, some patients in between. You have a whole range of patients. So what is ARPP stands for is the average revenue that you generate in a month divided by the number of patients that you see in a month. So some patients, irrespective, number of new patients that you see, I'm not talking about old patients. So how much revenue you're generating in a month divided by the number of patients that you see in a month. I have done studies across tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, and I thought that if you practice in Bangalore or Mumbai or Chennai, Delhi, the revenue generated will be more as opposed to tier 2 cities like Pune or wherever, or tier 3 cities where you go even to smaller towns in Tamil Nadu, you go to Madurai, you go to Dindigul, you go to Kumbakonam, you go to small cities even in the north, in the west, Sangli, Ichalkaranji, some places that you see. Surprisingly, there is absolutely no difference in the ARPP levels. Absolutely no difference. So in India, across the country where I have seen, the average revenue per patient is roughly around 4,000 to 5,000 rupees. So now what you have to do is, of course, this I'm talking about is a clinic that is at least 3-4 years into practice. What happens when you just start a practice is patients won't come agree for big treatments, right? They'll just come, chalo dekhte hain clinic kaisa hai, chalo dekhte hain doctor kaisa hai. So they'll come, then maybe they'll just get one scaling done, maybe a small filling done, maybe just a checkup, and then they'll go back. So the initial years, your ARPP will always be lower, but you should see that increasing. By the time you reach your 3rd or the 4th year, your ARPP should be about 4 or 5. Usually it does not go above 6 or 7. If it goes above 7,000 rupees, that again is not very good because you're overly relying, you're pushing too many treatments on one patient, and you're probably being construed as a very expensive dentist. So which is not also right. Because trust me, India is still a price sensitive market. People will not like to pay more, though they expect 5-star services. So roughly around 5,000 rupees. So we make about 5,500 to 6,000, which I think is about okay, which we're happy with. So you look at your ARPP levels, and the industry standard is about 4,500 to 5,000, and make an assessment of where you stand. So now how do you know how dentistry में पैसा है या dentistry में पैसा नहीं है? So earlier always we used to think that college join करेंगे, फिर college में तो पगार आएगा, फिर धीरे धीरे कंसल्टेशन करेंगे, फिर जो कंसल्टेशन से पैसा बढ़ता जाएगा, फिर क्लिनिक से एस्टैब्लिश करेंगे, फिर क्लिनिक में जब पैसा ज़्यादा होगा फिर कॉलेज छोड़ देंगे. This is how we have been working for 20-25 years. Now things are different. Now if you have to work backwards, I always say, think how much money you want to earn. कितना कमाना है, पहला हिसाब रखो. 1 लाख रुपया कमाना है, 2 लाख रुपया कमाना है, 3 लाख रुपया कमाना है, whatever it is. Keep in mind. Now I'm just going to assume that you want to earn 1 lakh rupees just for simplicity purpose. किसी को ज़्यादा कमाने का रहेगा, कम कमाने का रहेगा, अलग बात है. Now you want to earn 1 lakh rupees, right? If you want to take back home 1 lakh rupees, how much your clinic should be making? So you need to understand what will be the expenses. So how much are going to be the expenses? Now if you want to, I'll tell you, in dentistry, the percentage profit today, removing all the salaries, your rentals, your material cost, your lab cost, your miscellaneous cost, your that, this, falana, sab nikal ke. Today, if you are earning 30% profit, you're doing a wonderful job. Okay? 30% से ज़्यादा profit बहुत मुश्किल है बनाना. कुछ लोगों का rental नहीं है. Some people say that I have no rent, so my profit is more. But that's wrong. That's wrong thinking. Because if it's your own place, if you had not opened a dental clinic there and given it on rent to somebody else, you must be getting some rental income. So technically, your clinic should be paying you a rent even if you own that place. So that is an expense for the clinic in any which ways. So what you need to understand is what is a percentage profit that a clinic can do. So my working is you can do only 30% profits. Now, if you want to take back 1 lakh rupees home, how much you should make? So if you're looking at 30% profit, so obviously 3 times of that. So you need to make at least 3 lakh rupees so that you can take 1 lakh rupees home. Now, in order for you to make 3 lakh rupees, how many patients you would need? You can't think about today. Think about after 3 years, after 4 years. Now I told you ARPP is roughly around 5,000 rupees. Now अभी अगर 3 लाख रुपया बनाना है और हर एक पेशेंट का 5,000 रुपया का is worth. So 3 lakhs divided by 5,000 is how many? 60. अभी 60 पेशेंट्स भैया चाहिए आपको हर महीने नए, not old, not everything. 60 new patients you need to see. Now आपके एरिया में possible है या नहीं possible है. So then you have to do that calculation. How many people are living in this area? How many people have how many dentists are there. So each dentist to population, what is the ratio? Based on that, do only 1% or a 2% calculation of that. Suppose if you have 3,000 a patient, dentist to population is only 30 patients. So now you have to think whether it is possible for you to get 60 patients, and then make an assumption whether it is possible for you to take 1 lakh rupees. Now, either if you think that that's not going to be possible, either you have to reduce your or increase your expectations, or open 2 clinics. एक इधर खोला, थोड़े दिन के बाद कोई और branch up. So either adjust the area or adjust your expectations. So this is just the same slide which I think I have mentioned it. The next thing we speak about is clinic design and infrastructure. Now, the requirement of every operatory should be 100 square feet. That's a 10 by 10 room is needed. Some people keep it in lesser space. I would not recommend it. At least make sure that you have 100. Now, especially during this COVID times and all that, I would suggest that many clinics have consultation room inside the dental clinic, inside their own operator. Single chair clinic है, इतना सा जगह है, यहाँ पे chair डाला, यहाँ पे there's a table and there's a chair and there's a dental chair there, and you finish your consultation in the same space. Do not do that. Now have a separate clinic area and have a separate. If you're already having a clinic, you can't do anything about it. You can get these curtains done. You can get these transparent curtains done with kind of room separators. You can put, which are floor to ceiling ones. For purposes of infection control and purpose of everything else. But at least your operatory should be about 100 square feet. Make sure you have certain slope, and when you start up your clinic, you need to have the slope for your plumbing lines for the waters to go around. You need to have enough space for your counter space and shelves. You need to have adequate lighting. Now ventilation is extremely important because especially post-COVID, we are fumigating regularly after every patient. We are fogging the clinic every day after every patient. We need to ventilate the clinic for about 10-15 minutes before you take the next patient. So make sure that you have adequate ventilation. Have a reception. Many people say that I don't, just open the clinic and then straight away get into the operatory. But having a reception is extremely important. Even if it's a small space, it's necessary to have a reception. Make sure it's ventilated, spacious, blah, blah, blah. Sterilization room, have a separate sterilization room. And now it's required that we all have restrooms. So it's now mandated by law. So we don't have a choice. We must have a restroom within the premises. You can go to right to information. You can go to one of these pages. It says for a healthcare setup, restroom is mandatory. And people can actually complain saying that you don't have, and technically the government can come and shut you down if you don't have a restroom. Keep some of these points in mind when you're designing a clinic. This is another slide where I want to spend a little bit of time. As I told you in the beginning about teamwork and how being a team, working as a team is important. I always start by saying this a small example about a guy who wants to go to work. Usko interview रहता है. So next day he gets a interview for a job. So this guy says that, tomorrow is my job interview. I need to dress up myself properly. So he goes to a store and he buys himself a nice suit. तो ऐसा चेक करता है, सब बराबर है, it's okay. He goes back home, and when he goes back home, then he tries on the pant, and then trousers. When he tries on the trousers, is 2 inch, it's longer. He said, "Arey yaar, I should have got it altered in the shop only." Anyway, it's okay. Then he goes to his wife and says, "Darling, can you? Trouser थोड़ा लंबा हो गया. Can you cut 2 inches?" बीवी है, क्या बोलेगी? मेरे को क्या दूसरा काम धंधा नहीं है? बच्चों को देखना है, ये करना है, खाना पकाना है, तुम्हारी मम्मी को देखना है, सब का काम है, मेरे को नहीं होगा. जा अपने मम्मी से पूछ. तो दिस गाय परेशान होके बोलते हैं, मम्मी कल मेरा जॉब इंटरव्यू है, थोड़ा पैंट लंबा हो गया, कैन यू ऑल्टर 1-2 inches? मम्मी से शादी करा है ना, वो क्या करती रहती है? दिन भर व्हाट्सएप में बैठ के रह के ग्रुप में चैटिंग करती, किटी पार्टी करती, कुछ करती रहती है. You keep doing what is that? Don't I have other things to do? I have to take care of your father. I have to give him medicines. I have to take the children homework. I have to take her for a walk. I have to do this. I can't do all this. You ask your wife only. तो अभी आदमी क्या परेशान. He goes to bed. तो नेक्स्ट डे मॉर्निंग क्या होता है, ईस्ट और वेस्ट, मदर इज द बेस्ट. तो 4 o'clock अपनी मदर उठ जाती है, बोलते हैं यार मेरी बहू बहुत बेकार है, यूजलेस. सन ऑल्सो डजंट नो एनीथिंग. आई ओनली, इवन आफ्टर दिस एज आई हैव टू डू एवरीथिंग. सो शी वेक्स अप एंड शी नाइसली alters it by 2 inches and she goes back to sleep. At 5 o'clock what happens, the wife wakes up and then she says, अरे मेरा पति इतना बेकार है, मेरी सास भी बेकार है, मुझे ही सब कुछ करना है घर में. तो वो निकाल के वो भी 2 इंच काट देती. She goes to sleep. फिर अपना हीरो 6 o'clock he wakes up and he says, अरे मेरी बीवी भी यूजलेस है, मेरी माँ भी कुछ नहीं करती, I only have to do, and वो हाफ पैंट हो जाता है. So what happens here is you have 3 people doing the same job 3 times for lack of coordination. People are good, but because there's lack of coordination between them, the work got repeated 3 times and the work got spoiled. So in a dental clinic, many times it happens. How many times it has happened? That appointment for a patient has not been given properly. Patient is calling and shouting. The lab fellow has not delivered the crown on time, and then you get irritated and you say that, "अरे सर lab ही नहीं आया, मैं क्या करूं?" तो मैं बोला, मैं lab को पैसा दिया कि तेरे को पैसा दिया? So these are issues that happen in the clinic, and as HR, as your entire team, your team should each have their own designated roles and responsibilities. Everybody should work together. There's nobody should say this is not my job, this is not my job. There should be willingness from everybody. अपने घर में अभी लॉकडाउन हुआ, काम वाली नहीं है, बर्तन मांजा कि नहीं? You did. झाड़ू पोछा किया कि नहीं? You did. So when it is your house, you feel like you're doing. So when it is your clinic, there is nobody should. Everybody who's working in the clinic, whether it is a other doctor, whether it is a front office, whether it is a assistant, whether it is a housekeeping, any person, they people should feel it is my clinic, and they should not hesitate to do the work which is beyond their roles and responsibilities. That's how you develop a team. That's how you inspire them to work. Right? For me, simple thing is if I find something dirty in my clinic, I'll take the mop and I'll start mopping. So what will happen? The other people in the clinic, they'll say, no, sir, please leave. छोड़ो sir, अब मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? नहीं करता. So these are some techniques that you use to induce some guilty feeling in somebody to make them work, or drive them to work by motivating them. I've seen some people do the housekeeping. Nobody bothers. मुन्ना भाई में बोलते हैं ना, आप इतना साफ करते हो, आपको thank you कोई नहीं बोलता. So like that, it is important that you appreciate the hard work done by the others also. So these things are very important in building a team. You have chair-side assistants, so you have to train them on what is a proper etiquette when they are working. And I'll tell you from my personal experience. So we've had, I used to have a chair-side assistant. Her name was Banu. She used to be my assistant for many years. And when I'm treating, especially when I'm doing surgeries or whatever, I always ensure that there is a witness. A chair-side assistant is always present in the clinic, especially if it's a lady patient and all. So once I was going to operate and my patient said, "Doctor, I want to talk to you." I said, "No, what happened? No problem." He said, "No, I want to speak to you alone." And then at that point, I was like, maybe she wants to talk something private. So I told Banu, just please go outside. I never expected what she said. So she looked at me and she said, "Doctor, please don't mind, I have to tell you." I said, "What happened?" "Your assistant is stinking very badly." And this lady has been my assistant for 10 years. I'm probably used to her smell, but the others were not. So she obviously was not. So you need to be sensitive to what the patients can. So whether it's etiquette in terms of maintaining personal hygiene, whether it is in terms of another example I can give you is another assistant once. I think some cavity they were doing a restoration and there was a deep. So they were putting some Dycal, I think Dycal something they use as a pulp capping thing. So one of the doctors they were using, and that the tube, they were trying to press and it was not coming out. So promptly my assistant took the probe and she poked like that, and it came out. Now the patient was seeing all this. The patient said, "Doctor sir, 1 minute. This instrument you used in my mouth to check, same thing you are putting in that. Now that you'll be using for next patient also." And he said, yeah, that means you would have done this for previous patient also. So I don't want to get treatment done for him. And she walked up and did it. So imagine what the patients can see, what the patients, because they don't have any, you are looking into the patient's mouth. No, अरे यहाँ पे 2,000 है, उधर 4,000 है, उधर 12,000 है, उधर 20,000 है. The patient doesn't have anywhere else to look. Patient looking at you and saying that, doctor ने बाल नहीं काटा बराबर, doctor ने shaving नहीं किया बराबर. That's all they'll say. And what the doctor is saying that they don't have anything else. Oh, you think, look into the patient's mouth. Patient saying that, oh, the ceiling is not clean, there are cobwebs there. Right? So you have to understand what the patient sees, what the patient hears, what the patient smells. And accordingly, you need to train the people respectively. So whether it is a chairside assistant, a front office executive, even if you have, whatever, if there's one thing that you can take out of this webinar, please make sure that you have a front office executive, because no clinic is complete without a receptionist. And you say, sir, uske liye bekar mein 10-15,000 kharcha. No way, no way. You must have a front office, and the front office can do innumerable help for you. The front office can make your life much easier. So a lot of times, a simple thing like, a patient comes in, the first time the patient comes in, the patient needs to be greeted and welcomed. If you go to a shop, don't you feel that the shopkeeper or somebody should welcome you? I've seen, the ladies will go, they'll want to buy some saris. वो immediately आके बोलेगा, सर आपको नाइलॉन में दिखाऊं, शिफॉन में दिखाऊं, सिल्क में दिखाऊं, क्रेप में दिखाऊं, ये दिखाऊं, कांजीवरम दिखाऊं, पता नहीं क्या, 100 things he'll say. If nobody is bothered, what you'll say? अरे दुकान बराबर नहीं है, दूसरा जगह जाते हैं. Same thing, the patients come, if they are not welcomed within 30 seconds, they start feeling neglected. So hosting as a first thing, and the patient, as soon as the patient comes, the receptionist must introduce himself or herself. I would prefer herself because, you can always have a male receptionist also, but females are better. They're more committed. Let's not pick up any row. I prefer that girls are more committed getting the job done. And then, you do the hosting, and the front office welcomes themselves and introduces themselves and saying that I'm the front office of this particular so-and-so clinic. Please welcome. This is the first time you're coming here. Please have a seat. Can I get you something to have, drink, whatever? Then your registration, whatever, in your tab or your form or whatever. And then you ask them to fill it up. Ask them if they need some help. Make sure that they are taken care of properly. Never leave a patient alone. Always engage some conversations. In India, we don't have less things to talk about. No, अरे COVID बहुत बढ़ गया ना. अरे क्या, the death toll is increasing. Now you see PPE का kit also has become so expensive. Oh, समझते हैं अरे धोनी retire हो गया. अरे market क्या हो गया पता नहीं, it is going up. अरे ड्रेस मटेरियल बहुत अच्छा है, कहाँ से लिया, कितने का लिया, अरे बच्चा कितना क्यूट है, कौन सा स्कूल में जाता है, ऑनलाइन कैसा चल रहा है. 100 things we have to talk about. So these things are what we call as icebreakers in a conversation. So the front office must engage the patient or the patient's attendant continuously by engaging in a conversation. The next time the patient comes and say, "Arey Shweta, how are you?" Right? How the patient has to feel. The patient has to feel that they are important, they are wanted in the clinic. Right? So that's the front office responsibility. And believe me, they will make the decision whether to undergo the treatment from your clinic or not even before they see you. You are not even into the picture as a dentist. If you want the patient to undergo the treatment in your clinic, you as a dentist have got no value in making sure that the patient is undergoing the treatment in your clinic. Yes, the patient may agree for a scaling or an implant. That depends on how you are convincing that. But whether to undergo treatment in this clinic or not is determined even before the patient even sees you. This is the first impressions that they have. So the moment the patient comes in, he is welcomed by the receptionist. The receptionist talks properly, make sure that the patient is seated well, comfortable, give them water. So we have something in our clinic, we do innovation. So every month we have to have something new in the clinic. So either simple water hai, usme fruit infused water do, something you do. Now with this COVID times, you can make this Kada recipe and make this recipe and give the patient, sir, some immune booster from our clinic. We make it in the clinic, chota sa wo karo, and give every patient little bit. So that's how you are setting your clinic apart. What's your USP? So when the patient comes, welcome the patients. So tea, coffee, or whatever, juice, or whatever that needs to be. So actually these things are not the only thing that are important, but these are also makes the role, because as a service, we are in the service industry. We have to understand that these things are important today, much more than what they were relevant 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years. Today ये सब करना पड़ता है. And if you think that अरे ये सब मैंने करेगा, ये सब मेरा काम नहीं, ट्रीटमेंट के लिए आने का, आने दो, नहीं तो दूसरा जाने. So that depends on what kind of practice you want to have, right? Now today, if I have in my practice, there are people who will come root canal के लिए चाहिए 5,000 root canal है, 5,000 crown है, 10,000 का treatment है, 12. They'll go to any clinic here, no problem. But when they want to get a major treatment done, which is 2 lakh rupees, 3 lakh rupees, they'll say, "Nee, I'll go here, I'll go check there." Right? The kind of ambience that you create, the kind of resources that you create, the value that you provide, attracts the kind of patients that you want to see. It's extremely important. Appointment management. Appointment management, again, very critical to make sure that patients come on time, to make sure that patients are not waiting properly. They're not waiting for a long time also. And there's a whole process on appointment management. It's too less time to, but it's extremely critical that the appointment management is a big lecture in itself. Billing and feedback when the patient's billing is done, it's important. So many times, I will act to the patient as if I don't even know the charges. How much is the filling ka kitna hai? Flap surgery ka kitna hai? I don't know. Shweta, how much are we charging for surgery? Sir, per quadrant 6,000 rupees. Acha, 6,000. 6,000 what? 4 quadrant, what 24, whatever. I've only made the price as if I don't know. But when you put it across like that, what happens is the patients in their mind think that doctor is separate, money is separate. So all those parts, you as a doctor don't get involved in that. So that gives you a lot of leverage in making sure the patients undergo the treatments that is right for them on what you think is right. And as far as the money is concerned, you can always tell the front office that you give them some leeway in negotiating some bit and giving some discounts and all that. And you always act as a person who never says no. And the front office says, "Sir, I have spoken to the patient, everything. Please, can you give some discount?" Say, yeah, whatever, no problem. And in the back, you call up and say, 10% से 1 रुपया ज़्यादा दिया. Front office, you can put dump all this work on them. And it's important that you have somebody who does that. So have a front office executive. There's a separate 2-day program on a front office. So we're not going to go much into the detail. How a doctor should look. Doctor should look like a doctor, no? The patient comes inside and says, "Ja doctor ko bula." Arey मैं ही doctor है. Personality होना चाहिए ना. Create a personality for yourself. You must look like a doctor. अभी क्या लॉकडाउन के बाद सब इतना बड़ा दाढ़ी बनाया, इतना ये क्या, look nice. If you're one of those personalities like Shekhar Kapoor who can pull off a beard, fantastic. But most of them look like monkeys. So please make sure that your appearance is relevant to that of being a doctor. And show proper conduct. And I've seen this, none of these things that I'm talking today is something that you don't know. It's all common sense. But unfortunately, there is nothing called as common sense. So conduct yourselves. I've seen in many clinics that I go, doctors are sitting and standing like this. Patient ne mouth mask idhar chin pe hai, and they are standing like this. Arey chalna chai pi ke aate hai. This is what the patients will look at this and say that arey kya hai doctor sahab. Communication skills. The lesser, I mean, the how much you can say about communication skills is, it's a huge topic. But I think today there's a difference between a dentist and a dental caregiver. Okay, now imagine there are 2 patients and say Naveen is there and I am there. Okay, Naveen साहब क्या है? Okay class 2 filling करते हैं. अभी कृष्णराज क्या है? World का best class 2 करता है. Okay? Now patient is there, comes to both of us. Now patient comes to me and I said, "आ करो, ना जीभ इधर करो, उधर करो, अरे बीच में मत डालो." I'm poking that patient. I'm doing carving. मस्त किया है. अरे क्या रे, किधर खींचा, उधर खींचा है. And I've done the very good cluster filling. But Naveen sir on the other side, he says, "Arey, so my name is Dr. Naveen. I'll be doing this cluster filling for you. I'll be using a small drill which will take only 10 to 20 seconds. We'll remove that and we'll do a light and we will do this filling, whatever. And we'll keep taking breaks in between. If you have any problems, please raise your hand, whatever." And as the treatment is doing, "Arey, Saab, you are one of the best patients I have seen. You are such a wonderfully cooperative patient. I have never seen a patient who was so, you are one of the bravest patients I've seen." And it was okay filling. Now in the eyes of the patient, who's a better dentist? The idea of communication skills during your treatment, before your treatment, after your treatment, makes a lot of difference. Today, people who are toppers in college need not always have the most successful practice, right? And people who are very successful, vice versa, also need not always have examples in either way. So one of the times when I was giving a lecture, one of the students got up and said, "Sir, padhai band kar do?" And these are some of the things. Don't studies are important. One student also got up and asked, "Sir, do you mean to say carving is not important?" Again, I'd like to clarify. I have nothing against carving. My only point is communication skills are far more important. They are important in ensuring that patients' fears are allayed, their anxiety is kept low. Then you perform the treatments. We have certain rules that I always tell. It's important for patients that as doctors we need to tell the patients 7 things. The first thing is the patient has a right to know what his diagnosis is with an explanation of the disease process. Sometimes we explain to the patient in a way that, oh my God, you have got a lot of gingival inflammation and there's a lot of subgingival deposits. I can see pockets are there. You've got chronic generalized periodontitis. You may need a full mouth flap surgery with laser assisted and all that. Patient, sir, OT में admit होने का है, इधर ही करेंगे. The purpose is not to scare the patient. So when you explain the treatment, the diagnosis, explain it in a way that the patients can understand. Even your second thing is your treatment plan. We'll have to create an access cavity opening, फिर बाद में biomechanical preparation I have to do, then I have to remove the smear layer, I have to irrigate the solution, irrigate the area, then I have to fill it up with a bio-inert material, and then I have to do the access filling and then do the crown preparation and give you a crown. 2 लाख रुपया काफी है? ऐसा पूछेगा patient. So these are things that sometimes I have seen dentists say this to make sure to sound as if they are doing a lot more treatments for the money that they are charging. So explain these things are wrong. Today it is the easiest to take money from a patient. Now today if I have a phone, this phone is say 60,000 rupees. If the patient buys, so you go to a shop and you buy it for 60,000 and you go somewhere else and the same phone is available for 35,000, you'll feel cheated, right? Nobody wants to feel cheated. Once they pay the money, they should go outside, and then when they inquire also, now a patient comes to you, for example, and undergoes some treatment, he goes back, next day, the man is going for walking. So all his friends are there in the park and they're asking him, "Arey, kal kyun nahi aaya re? अरे कल अरे डॉक्टर के पास गया था, रूट कैनाल के लिए बोला." अच्छा, इसलिए नहीं आया क्या? कैसा था, क्या था? हाँ, किया ठीक था. कितना चार्ज किया? अरे 5,000 रुपए चार्ज. 5,000 रुपए चार्ज किया? अरे मेरे घर के पास में 1,500 रुपए में रूट कैनाल करते थे. वो guy is doing 1,500. Why paid 5,000 rupees? And now this guy is going to reply back. How do you think he should reply back? Really? 1,500? That means that my doctor cheated me. Or do you want the patient to say, "Hey boss, you don't know anything. Don't go just because it is 1,500 and 2,000 and don't go to all these places. I will go take you to my doctor. There is a specialist who needs to do this treatment. There are different procedures that are involved. Materials have to be used good quality. There is a proper technique that is to be done. And it's not just do a root canal and go away. There is a post-operative follow-up checkup. You have to keep going for checkups and stuff like that. Don't think about it for 2,000-3,000 rupees and go to some cheap fellow. I will take you to my dentist. Let him, you talk to him. He will explain everything." Which sort of patient would you prefer? Or what kind of thing your patient is advocating for you? And when will the patient advocate for you? When they feel that they've got value for the money that they've paid you. That's where the importance of counseling comes in. So what are the things that you need to explain to the patient? You need to explain the diagnosis with an explanation of the disease process. You need to explain to the patient the treatment plan with stepwise whatever you want to do, in a way that the patient can understand. The third thing you have to explain to the patient is what are the advantages of getting the treatment done. You can tell them that, when you get this, you get so and so, you get so and so, your function's rehabilitated, pain's gone, you can use a tooth, longevity is increased, your other stuff, whatever. Even nutritionally, whatever advantages you can explain. Fourth is disadvantages. If you don't undergo this treatment, what are the possible complications that can arise, or if there's any alternate treatment that can be done. So this is point number 4. Point number 5 is what's the cost of the treatment and why. So every time you say there's 5,000 rupees for a root canal treatment, The patient's going to be like in their mind, is it more, is it less, why is it 5,000 rupees? That question they can't ask you, but it's your responsibility to explain to the patient why you charge. So you need to first be confident that what you're charging is a reasonable amount. If you yourself feel that you're charging more, you will never be able to convince a patient that what you're worth. So explain to the patient why. And many times I feel that, many doctors have seen, I'm not going to explain my charges. If they want to undergo, they'll undergo. If they want to let them go somewhere else. No, that's not the right way. You have to allay those fears which are spoken and which are unspoken. So these are unspoken fears. Why to pay 5,000? So this is something that you need to address it. Successful doctors address this head on. Okay, so it's point number 5. Point number 6 is time. How much time it's going to take for the treatment. First appointment this much time, second appointment this much time, third appointment this much time interval between appointments, and total time that's taken. That's important. And 7th and the last thing is, what are the possible complications that can arise out of the treatment? This I've seen many doctors don't do that, because if you tell the patient that, anesthesia you can die also, but we still have to do the root canal. So it's a little difficult. So how you explain it is also important. So trust me, if there are 2 doctors, one doctor who has never seen a failure and one doctor who has seen success and failures both, which one will you choose if you had to go for a heart valve replacement? Most of us would choose a doctor who has seen both success and failures, because that's when you become better, right? So the patients also need to know that, and patients need to realize that you as a doctor have seen both successes and failures and are taking the right decision based on your experience on what is good for me. And that's conveyed by your 7th point. So 7 things, as I said: diagnosis, treatment planning, advantages, disadvantages or alternative treatments, what are the cost of the treatment, what are the time taken for the treatment, and any possible complications. These 7 things are important. I think we may be running a little bit out of time. I want to keep some thanks for things. So I want to rush straight. There are a lot more stuff that I can discuss, but we don't have. Just want to spend a few more minutes just regarding this COVID situation. So we know we are at highest risk. And as far as COVID protocols are concerned, you see all these, the green dots represent the green dots represent healthcare professionals. So you can see the dental hygienists and assistants are at the extreme right. So we are at the highest possible risk. And okay, so these are some of the quotes that I think if NCOV2 are here, I would say that. So if you have to restart your practice, so these are now you see a lot of things. Now everybody's got a non-contact thermometer. Now there is a there is a new whatever protocol. Let's say you're not supposed to point the non-contact thermometer to the forehead, because obviously there's some studies that say that infrared passes through it and goes and affects your pineal gland or whatever. So they say that now you have to put it to your wrist. Anyway, so use your whatever non-contact thermometer and use a disinfectant. So there are do's and don'ts, and there are pros and cons of using the disinfectant spray. But I believe we should, because we are the highest possible risk. So we are using currently 0.1 to 0.2% sodium hypochlorite as a disinfectant spray. We use that to disinfect the patient's clothing. We put a SOP there, and we've written there also. We give the patients eyewear and a head cap and stuff like that, and the mask, and then they get them still sprayed front and the back. We provide hand sanitizers and mouth mask, head cap, and even footwear, protective footwear is a thing. And only the patients allowed, the attendants not allowed. And we allow only 1 patient per hour. So if you're working from 10 to 8, we have 1 at 10, 1 at 11, 1 at 12, and 1 and stuff like that. So that's how we schedule the appointments. Again, we use disposable drapes for the patients, and then what we have done is we have kind of divided the clinic into an infective area and a non-infective area, which is the reception is a non-infective area, and we have kind of separated out by a transparent acrylic sheet. So we've got these tension rods with a curtain, that the transparent curtain that goes down, and that patient has to pass through to get into the clinic, and they come out there. So the idea is that's a sort of a physical barrier. And after every patient, the room's fumigated. Now, we have lost a lot of equipment because of the fumigation, because of the sodium hypochlorite tends to rust. So we lost an X-ray, we lost the autoclave, we lost We had to repair. I mean, even the chair, the up and down motor started getting rusted. It started making noise. So many things we lost, compressors and stuff like that. But it's still important. So as you do it, you keep learning. So try to cover all these areas, the surfaces with a cling wrap or something like that, so that it doesn't come directly into contact with the spray. And those areas you can wipe down with just a wipe spray with a Bacillol or something like that, with a alcohol-based scrub. Okay, and yeah, as far as N95 masks are concerned, I take separate classes on infection control, and I mean N95. How do you know whether it's an N95 or it's not an N95? Again, there are certain markings on that, so you need to make sure that you can actually go to the CDC website and put the company name on from which you have purchased, and the CDC website has an updated list of the companies that are authorized to sell N95 masks. So there are many of these companies that sell these N95 masks, and you don't know if they are genuine or they're not. So if you go to cdc.gov and you can just type the companies, registered companies for N95 masks, it comes up a full list. And then you can see whether your company actually falls on that list, and then you can decide whether to purchase that N95 or not. I mean, the N95 again is an American based on the NIOSH standard. So different companies, different countries have different ones. So the Europeans have the EN FFP1, FFP2, FFP3 masks. The Japanese have DS masks. Chinese have the KN95 series. So which mask do you wear, and how to wear, and whether you can reuse these masks? N95 masks technically should not be reused, but we are using them. We can reuse them. So the way that you should reuse it is you put it in a UVC light, ideally, if you expose it. But the thing is, UVC light has only a distance of action of only 30 centimeters. So make sure that the source of the light and your N95 mask is close by to each other. If it's about 30 centimeters, it will still work. Use that to disinfect the mask, or you can have 3 or 4 different N95 masks for different days of the week, so that you use the same mask after 3 days or 4 days or whatever. So you can do that. Use a protective face shield, and that's important. And do not wipe it with alcohol because it will become opaque. So you can use simple soap and water. Pre-procedural mouth rinse is extremely important with povidone-iodine. You can use chlorhexidine or povidone-iodine. I tend to use povidone-iodine because I'm a little biased towards that. Do not use AC while the treatment is in progress, and nowadays try to cover everything with a cling wrap and use it and throw it so that it doesn't come into contact with gloved hands. Switch over to compules if you can, and the cost is going to go up a little bit, but a compule now, companies also have realized it when they brought down the cost. So a compule now is roughly about 200 rupees. So that will be as opposed to your 50 rupees. So obviously your increase is about 150 rupees. So if you're charging say 1,000 rupees for a filling, you can make it 1,050 or even 1,100. Do not think that earlier it was 550 rupees for the filling. My cost has gone up 4 times, so I'm going to charge 4 times more for the filling. That's not how it works. So when you plan the finances, plan that accordingly. Decontaminate the chair after every procedure. After every time the treatment's done, you do a wipe spray for the chair, for the X-ray unit, everything that has been come into contact with the gloved hands, and the instruments. You follow the routine. So if there's one investment that you should make now, is get a good autoclave, get a B-class autoclave, and that is the rule of the day. Make sure that instruments are scrubbed first, and then you even use a simple soap, scrub them, dry them, seal them and pouch them, and then use a proper pre-vacuum B-class autoclaves to ensure that the instruments are sterile. Okay, and yeah, that's about it. And thank you. And if there are any more questions, any questions at this point? There are lots more I could have covered, but we still have only about an hour or so. So thank you for a patient hearing. Thanks, Naveen. Thanks to the entire college. And if there are any questions, at some point in
Yeah.
career, more than happy to take that.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. That was a very enlightening and informative presentation by you. I hope everybody will take some takeaway messages and follow these precautions and your procedures during their practice. I have few questions, sir, asked by the participant. One by one, I'll ask them.
Okay.
Yeah, the first question was asked by Dr. Praveen, Vanupur Praveen. He asked us whether mentioning the treatment charges in pamphlets, is it a legal issue in India?
Whether you want, so, one second. Yeah, so mentioning treatment charges, it's up to you. Whether there is no law which states that you have to, and there is no law which says that you shouldn't also. But it's totally up to you whether you want to mention or not. We give a ballpark figure to the patient, but sometimes we know that the treatment charges may vary once the treatment is completed also. So there's nothing wrong in displaying your charges as well. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Sir, actually he is asking some dentists nowadays are putting their charges on pamphlets and distributing on paper. I think his point is on that.
No,
point,
that's
sir.
not right. No. I don't think that you should do that.
Okay.
You should not do that.
Yeah. Sir, Dr. Lubna asks, can we start a new dental clinic in this COVID time, or shall she wait some months and start? Which is a better option, sir?
Many people are asking the same question. In fact, so many people have put off their clinic opening plans till the thing settles down. When you say settle down, life में settle हो जाना मांगता है क्या है? We will never settle. Whenever you start a practice, it's going to be difficult, whether it is COVID or not a COVID time. You can look about any problem as an opportunity to see how you can improve yourself. And whether you open your practice now or later, the question is not related to COVID. It should be whether you are ready to accept that challenge.
Yeah, sir. One more question, sir. This is a very good question, in fact. Dr. Suresh asked, should we have a permission for pharmacy separately in our clinic?
Yes.
Or can we give medications in our clinic without pharmacy registration?
So if you're selling them, you need to have a pharma license. You cannot sell. For sure you cannot sell. Of course, sometimes one or two patients here and there who would find it difficult, even we send them to go buy it and come and then give it to the patients. That is okay. But routinely, if you're intending to stock medicines with you and sell it to your patients, that's a pharma business. So you need to have a pharma license for that. You get into trouble if you get caught.
Okay, yeah, thank you, sir. One more question, sir, regarding COVID times. Dr. Jagdish asks, which one is better, sir, the respirator or the N95 mask?
See, personally, I am against anything that contains a filter. Okay, so any of these respirators, all of these respirators will have a filter to it. Unless the filters are routine. See, in India, what happens is we may buy the most expensive things, but we will still ask mileage kitna hai. So in India, what happens? We may buy a respirator, but we need to change that, change the cartridge that is associated very often. Now, how much aerosol you are exposed to also makes a difference in how often or how frequently you need to change the the cartridge. But see, what happens is when the air passes through a particular filter, the filter will harbor these viruses, right? So the viruses are present on the filter. If you are wearing a regular mask, you throw the mask, you wear a new mask. But if you are wearing a respirator, the same respirator you have to continue wearing. So it is possible that there's a lot of viruses that are on the respirator, that are in the cartridge, which you are at a risk of inhaling. So I do not like anything, whether it's a HEPA filter or anything. I don't recommend it. I'm not convinced.
Sir, can we use UV sterilization for that? These respirators, can we use a UV box that now we can see on Amazon? They are readily available.
Yeah. So you can use UV. Now UV comes in three rays. You have a UVA, UVB, and UVC. The UVC light is the one that is germicidal in nature. So you can use a UVC, but again UVC has a inherent drawback that it does not work beyond 30 centimeters. That's the range of the length. So if the object is placed greater than 30 centimeters away, the UVC will not work. So if you are ensuring that if it is within that range, it will work. Also, you need to understand that the UV light it gives out that blue color or whatever, but the UV rays are transparent. So after a certain point, the UV light will start decaying. The UV will start decaying, but you will never know because the blue light will keep coming. But at some point when you check, there is no UV, it's only blue light. So when you're buying a UV chamber, it's also important that you buy a meter, a UV meter, to check what is the amount of UV that is being produced, if it is decay or not. Yeah, but conceptually you can use it.
Correct, sir. Sir, somebody asked, Dr. Soumya, he asked that what are your recommendations for using ACs during the treatment now?
I understand that in a country like India, with the climate that we have, it's extremely difficult to work without an AC. And especially, I feel bad for our fellow dentists in Mumbai or Chennai or Kerala and some of these other hot places, even Chhattisgarh, where it gets really hot during summer. So what we do is we keep the windows open. So we do not use AC while the treatment is in progress. But we always fumigate after every procedure. And the problem is the AC vents can also harbor the virus. So what we've also done is we've put like a transparent acrylic sheet that covers the vent of the AC as well. So if you really have to use it, make sure you put the vent and then do it, so that the cool air comes in but does not hit you straight in the face.
Thank you, sir. Sir, somebody in this chat bot has entered how to start up a practice in a rural area where many clients will be uneducated or basically less than literate.
Cater to the needs of the populace. That's my first answer. Will be understand. Do a small survey, or go if it is a rural people. Go to the people. Try to understand what kind of service they are expecting from you. You cannot expect the same kind of practice in one area and expect it to replicate in the other one. So understand wherever you want to start your practice, find out what the population is, what do they want, what are the other dentists doing, what kind of treatments are being done. If you are happy with it and if there is something that you want to do, you do it. If you want to change it, it's going to be an uphill task, but you can still do it. So the way you have to do it is you have to do a lot of camps. You have to spend a few years trying to educate these patients into what is good for them. So many of them, for example, would not want to undergo a root canal treatment. They would say, I want to just extract my teeth. So if you want to change that mindset, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah. Sir, one dentist has asked how to calculate ARPP. Hello? 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 Sir, can you hear me? I think sir is disconnected. Hello?
Ram, I'll just check with him. I'll call up and check.
Yes, sir, please, sir. I request participants, if they have a question, they can put up in the chat bot, or else we will end this wonderful session. I think he has answered a lot of queries and questions. So I will take some 2 or 3 more questions and then we'll be moving up to the validation ceremony. Yeah. So one question was here. I'd like to read the question. Just see. Yeah. Should we obtain a trade license before opening a clinic? This I can answer you for your help. Every state has got its own rules and propositions about opening up a clinic. So you need to take the permission from the chief medical and health officer of this particular district, and they'll be governed by the rules of the state. Like in Chhattisgarh, we have a nursing home act that has been established. So before opening up a clinic, you need to attain the nursing home act, and then you can open up a clinic. This is, I think, the answer to Dr. Debashish Roy. Yeah, we are just waiting for. Yes, sir.
सर का it is showing as it is not been you cannot join the meeting कुछ आ रहा है सर के लिए.
Just a second, we'll check, sir.
और कुछ डाउट है? Has anybody asked?
I have 2-3 questions, sir. Right now. Sir, just ask sir to if he can reconnect, sir, once again.
Okay, I'll check that, Ram.
Yeah. Hello. Naveen sir. Naveen sir. Can you hear me? Facebook लाइव बंद करा है. Hello. Dr. Naveen sir, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Ram.
Sir, is sir connecting or shall we proceed, sir?
Sir, क्या हो रहा है? He is trying to connect, Ram, but it is showing you cannot join the meeting again. वैसा आ रहा है उनके स्क्रीन पे. I'll just check. Same ID है ना? Same ID है ना?
Same ID, sir. Same ID.
Okay, I'll just check with him again. Just now I spoke to him. Just again I'll tell him. Same ID enter करके I'll try to tell him to join from the mobile.
Yeah. Okay, sir. I think we are facing some technical glitch from sir's side. I think his internet connection is